Hi everyone, Christian from MacDon again. Today it's time for everybody's favorite chore, knife maintenance. So guards and sections are probably one of the most overlooked and sometimes neglected parts on the header, but it can have one of the biggest effects on your cut quality. We're going to inspect some of these and show you what's good, what's bad, what's in between, because of course we don't necessarily have to replace these every single day. But there is a point where at some point they are going to have to be replaced. All right, so today we're working on an FD2. So we got some brand new, not so bad, a little bit worse, horrible. So what we've got is we've got a brand new guard and a brand new section and a properly adjusted hold down. And we're just gonna do a little cut comparison. So I'm just using a zip tie here. There we go. So there you can see it sheared it cleanly right off. So there's a nice clean edge right there, which is perfect for crop that you're going to cut repeatedly. So if it's hay or alfalfa and stuff like that, that promotes a good regrowth, where a ragged cut can stunt your growth. On our next section here, so we've got a brand new section and we've got a marginally worn guard. So this one still has a little bit of life in it, but it's definitely far from brand new again. For the same example. So there again, did a not bad job. Pretty clean cut. So still definitely acceptable. So this is a good guard worn section. Okay. So we were able to achieve an okay cut quality. What actually happened there is you actually saw the crop actually briefly get pulled in between the guard and the section before it actually sheared it off. So it did more of a tear than an actual clean cut. Next scenario, fairly worn guard, fairly worn section. Let's see how it cuts. And stop. All right, so there we can see it actually grabbed it, got stuck in between the guard and the section, and it actually tore it more than it actually cut it. You can see the tip of it is bent as well. So again, so we're getting worse and worse all the time. Last but not least, so really worn guard, physically damaged section. Some of you have probably got a few of these rolling around on some of your headers. So in these sections right here, you can actually see these little striations going across the top. That can be caused by improper hold down, where now the knife is actually hitting the top part of the guard, or it gets caused by crop getting basically wedged in between there and going back and forth. So we'll watch the carnage together. Yeah. So at this point, basically what we're doing is we're just chewing up the crop. We're not really cutting it anymore. We're just macerating it until it finally gives up. Imagine that the whole length of your 50-foot knife. That's where you're going to get your stalling, or you're going to have to reduce your ground speed so much that it's just going to ruin your day. All right, so we're going to need a 10 mil. Nope. Nope. Yes. Okay, so we've assembled our arsenal of tools here. So we've got the big impact with the 18 mil, because I know you're going to use an impact. We got the baby impact with the 10 mil. We get lucky to scrounge one. Baby torque wrench for torquing our section bolts. Some feeler gauges to check the hold down. We've got a new section and a new guard. It's new to us. And a little bit bigger torque wrench for torquing down the guard bolts. So I'm going to put my hand underneath to catch the bolts. There's one, there's two. Now with the section lined up between the guard, it's relatively easy to remove here. So the bolts will drop out the bottom. Also on the bottom is your poly, so you'll want to inspect that for wear at the same time. This is in good shape, it's basically brand new. And now I can wiggle out my guard. So now that we've got the guard out, we can examine it for actual wear. So obviously this is our cutting edge, and you can see that this is quite worn down. You can see right here where there's a big, how much it's worn down compared to new. So this edge here where we're not doing any cutting is actually still nice and sharp, but unfortunately there's no guard to cut on that. So this is all rounded right over. And this area here is also worn too. It's actually gotten wider. So this guard is done. Now that's pretty straightforward, but what you may not notice on a visual inspection is this back plate right here. So this backer, or sometimes referred to it as a ledger, you can see how worn that is compared to a new one. So as your knife wears, as your knife strokes back and forth, this is where the knife head actually wears, and there's always going to be constant pressure going against it because of course you're moving in this direction. So it's important that this also gets checked. So we're not concerned just about our cutting area, we're also concerned about back here. If this wears completely off, what can happen is the knife can actually come dislodged. It can actually end up going too far back, and it'll actually end up on top of the guards. So you're looking at it and they're all down, and then all of a sudden the knives are all laying on top. So now we're going to replace the section. Now notice these little dog bone connectors here. So these are installed on the end of the knife closest to the drive end, and these are actually reinforcements. So make sure that you put these back on if you're stripping the whole knife down. Yes, I'm putting a chrome socket on an impact gun. Give me your hate in the comment. I'm doing it dirty style. There's only one 10 mil in this entire shop, and this is it. Probably have to loosen these ones off a little bit too. All right, goodbye. Old section, hello, new sickle section. Genuine MacDon part, always the best. Os tempered, whatever that means.
Os tempering is a heat treatment used to form pure bainite, a transitional microstructure found between pearlite and martensite. Os tempering consists of rapidly cooling the metal part from the austenitizing
fitted bolts, unlike the FD1 and prior series, so these don't have to get pressed in. So they just go in from the bottom. There we go. With the dome of the nut facing down.
Normally, you would replace all your broken knife sections.
Number 2. All right, we'll give this a little gentle zap. So now we're going to torque the section. This is 106 inch-pounds or 12 metric somethings. I think they're called Newton meters. Never met them. So you can see that that is not very tight at all. That's basically one finger if you're doing it by hand. Now we install the guard. This hardware is in good shape, so we're going to reuse it. So those go into our poly and then up from underneath. On this header, the hold downs alternate every other guard. So this one doesn't have one, but if it did, we would put one on. Quick little blast with the impact. Okay, so now we're going to torque down the guard. 63 inch-pounds. No, that's not right. 63 foot-pounds or 85 metrics or Newton meters, whatever you prefer. Okay, so in the case where you're replacing a section that's underneath the hold down, you'll want to double check that clearance. Anytime you take the hold down off, the clearance may change. So again, if we had just replaced that one, we would double check the torque. And now we'll measure the clearance. So we're looking between 4 and 20 thou. So there's quite a bit of clearance there. I'm using a 10 thou, so I'm basically taking that and splitting it right down the middle. Push down to make sure that it's against the guard. To adjust the hold down, there's our hold down adjusting bolt. It's a 16 mil. I'm sure you've never ever used that one before. 16 mil head. Tighten this up, pushes it down. Hold down clearance is also very important because you want to make sure that that knife is cutting against the bottom of that guard. Otherwise, it's like cutting it with a pair of scissors with the hinges too loose. So basically, that's your hinge if we're talking about a pair of scissors. So push down on it. So that it could even be a hair tighter if you really want it to be. So push down to make sure that it's against the guard. Fair bit of drag there. Good to go.